What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mod Squad Network's Layeth the Squad Down. I am your host, Kevin. Steve cannot make it this week, so I am going to be doing this solo. Not solo Sokoa, just solo by myself. Only one. um, so I'm just gonna jump into things, guys, with Raw. We had the opening segment of Raw open with Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, and Finn Balor in the ring. They were boasting over Dom winning the title in NXT, the North American Championship. But then we get KO and Sami Zayn come out to a huge pop. They interrupted the Judgment Day with KO yelling at Dom to keep his mouth shut forever. It was a good opening segment. They goaded Dominic into defending the North American Championship later that night against Sami Zayn. So we'll get to that eventually, but decent segment. Next we get Becky Lynch versus Zoe Stark, with the winner Becky Lynch pinning Zoe Stark. It was a decent match. A good first match to kick off Raw. Um, yeah, other than that, I have nothing else really to say about it. Some of these matches, Raw was kind of a bit of a forgettable show, in my opinion. There wasn't a whole lot that happened. They need some storylines on Raw for sure. We get Dominic Mysterio versus Sami Zayn for the NXT North American title, with Dirty Dom picking up the win. That's right. Of course, shenanigans. Of course, always shenanigans. Dominic, I like what they're doing with Dom. I like the fact that Rhea has a belt, Dom has a belt, Damien has um, he has the briefcase, and Finn is kind of the man on the outside looking in at this point. So when are those foundations that were once cracked and glued back together going to fall apart again? So I'm curious to see what's going to happen there. Tommaso Ciampa versus Bronson Reed. This was a really good match. I really enjoyed this match, with Bronson Reed picking up the win. Logan Paul and Ricochet agree to a match at SummerSlam. It was just a typical segment. And guys, I'm just gonna go through this of every once in a while throw in what I really thought of things here, but I'm basically just gonna go through Raw, WWE and AEW, and basically just sort of uh just give my opinions and go through the rundown. We get Damian Priest versus Apollo Crews. An Apollo Crews sighting here on Raw, with Damian Priest, of course, picking up the win. We get Ludwig Kaiser versus Drew McIntyre, with Drew picking up that victory. And the final segment and final word, of course, we get the contract signing between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor for their World Heavyweight Championship match at SummerSlam. Um, this was predictable but well done. The Judgment Day is clearly a priority for WWE, and it's going to be a good job pushing them as most dominant faction now that the Bloodline has dissolved. I still think the Bloodline's more of a dominant faction, but the Judgment Day, they're getting their big push right now, and that's all well and good. But there's nothing to sink your teeth into yet with the Judgment Day as far as storyline. Nothing as good as what's going on at the Bloodline, in my opinion. Um, but there you have it. That is Raw. Before I go any farther, I want to mention the sponsor of the Mod Squad Network for this month, Skullectomy by Jolt 7 Studios. That's right, Skullectomy by Jolt 7 Studios. Make sure you check them out. Just scan that QR code on your screen now. If you're listening to us via podcast, make sure you go to Facebook and Jolt 7 Studios, Skullectomy by Jolt 7 Studios. Find them there. Check out their work. Amazing people to deal with. Each skull is made by hand. Each image that is on the skull is placed on by hand. So these things are very well done. Make sure you check them out. Make sure you check out our shirts, guys. Today, Sunday, 7:30. This is the 7:30. This is the last day for you to get the patriotic shirt by the Mod Squad Networks. It is going in the vault. If I am not contacted by the end of today, this is going in the vault to be maybe seen next year. We may bring it out the vault. There may be a new design. Who knows? But as for now, it is off the table. What you can do, though, is I have the new design. I have the new design right here. It is the Mod Squad Gamer shirt. It is the Mario edition of the Mod Squad Gamer shirt. I this is one of my favorite designs. So make sure you check that out on the Facebooks. All right, let's move on to SmackDown. Jay Uso kicked off SmackDown with Roman Reigns interrupting him. Roman told him, he's like, look, when Roman is billed on the show, Roman opens up the show. The tribal chief shall open up the show. It was a good back and forth segment, talk between Jay and Roman. So I like what they're doing here. I see what they're doing here. It's family conflict. That always makes good for TV. Next, we have the United States Championship Invitational Final. Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar. Escobar defeated Mysterio by a referee stoppage. It looked like Rey took a dive from Escobar and whiplashed his head into the mat. This looked like it may be a real injury, not a work. We'll have to see what is going on with Rey in the future. But if this is a real injury, thoughts with Rey. I mean, he looks young, but the dude's old. He looks young, but the dude's old. I'm just saying. But he can still go. So hopefully he's passing on the moniker of the LWO to Escobar here. Next, we get L.A. Knight. Yeah! Versus Ashante the Adonis. LA Knight comes out just totally gets on the mic and just buries each one of no, I keep wanting to say the Street Profits. It's not the Street Profits. It's it's oh my gosh, I cannot remember their name, but it's Adonis's group. It's Adonis's group. Oh, sorry about that. Next, we have Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair, Chelsea Green, and Sonya Deville. It's Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville, with Belair and Flair defeating Green and Deville. This was a non-title match. So next we have Carl Anderson versus Killer Cross. With Cross finally getting a win. Finally, Cross gets a win. I don't know what they're doing with this guy. He loses on pay-per-views. He barely wins on TV, and yet this guy's still, this monster guy. Dude, they need to build him up more. Hopefully, this is the start of Cross getting more of a build-up. We have Jey Uso versus Grayson Waller, with Uso picking up the win. Of course, Roman Reigns and Solo did come down in the middle of the match to distract Jey. Jey does get the win, but then he just gets totally destroyed by Solo and Roman. There was a spike spear combo. Solo spiked him, and Roman speared him twicey. They did it twicey. Left Jey just laid out in the ring, which almost makes me believe that Jey may win at SummerSlam. But this isn't the go home match, so this isn't the go home before the pay-per-view, so we'll have to see next week what happens to the tribal chief. Usually the person who goes over on that show, on the go home show, picks up the or loses at the pay-per-view, so we'll see. Let's move on over to some AE dubs. AE dub. AE dub. AEW International Championship. Orange Cassidy versus AR Fox. My match of the week right here, ladies and gentlemen. Only because I did not watch Rampage or Collision, which I'm probably going to start watching from now on because they do seem more must watch. At least Collision does. Rampage, maybe not so much, but I'm probably going to start giving those shows a follow as well because I do like me some AEW. I really do. Cassidy defeats Fox, and then Cassidy puts the sunglasses on Fox, and then Fox breaks them and just punches Cassidy right in the face, just destroys him. And then Darby Allin comes down to the ring, comes down on the ramp, like, "What are you doing?" And Fox is like, "Hey, I got caught up in the heat of it, blah blah blah." So you can see a change, Fox turning heel on Darby Allin there. Next, we have Jack Perry promo with Jerry Lynn coming down to talk to him and setting up a match for next week. A Jack Perry versus Jerry Lynn wrestling match. I'm guessing Jerry Lynn's going to get a little offense in, but probably get destroyed. Next, we have Pac versus Gravity. The bastard Pac. With Pac defeating Gravity in another really good match. Any of these matches, guys, AEW does put on some of the better matches. I still think Raw, WWE has better storylines, but the wrestling and the athleticism that they allow AEW wrestlers to do is almost unparalleled. I mean, freaking great. This was a good match. Next, we have Darby Allin versus Swerve Strickland, with Strickland defeating Allin because he was interfered with by, you guessed it, AR Fox coming down, throwing Darby Allin into a pole and then throwing him into the ring so Swerve can hit his move on him and pin him. So there we have it. A true, and it looks like AR Fox is joining Strickland's team. I think it's the Embassy there. So Britt Baker versus Taya Valkyrie, with Britt Baker, of course, picking up the win. This was I want to say a squash because she defeated her kind of quickly, with Tyra only getting a minimal offense in. Then we have the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Lucha Bros versus Best Friends. This was an all over the place match. I it was hard to follow. This is what happens sometimes when you get a whole bunch of guys around. It's hard to follow one thing. This is some of the tropes AEW does fall into, in my opinion. Sometimes they have too many people out there to be following one specific thing. So, but the Lucha Bros defeat Blackpool Combat Club and Best Friends. So there you have it. That is your AEW Dynamite. Let's get into some Rampage. Rampage starts with the Royal Rampage. Winner gets a shot at the TNT Championship at All Out. Um, Again, did not watch Rampage or Collision, so I'm just going to read through this real quick. Darby Allin actually picks up the win. As Steve would say, Derpy Allin picks up the win on this. I don't see how he's getting a big push. I'm not a fan. I'm not a huge fan of Darby Allin. Next, we get the Acclaim versus QTV. Anthony Bowens, Max Caster, and Billy Gunn battle Marshall, Johnny TV, and Solo in a trios match. Apparently, Billy Gunn did not retire. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass pick up the victory. Then we get Chris Statlander and Marina Shafir, which I think they really need to start pushing Marina Shafir. Oh, she's so hot. I'm sorry, she is. With Chris Statlander picking up the victory on that, and that is your main event of Rampage. Next, we have Collision, which I believe probably should be getting more eyes on because the matches that they're having on Collision right now, from what I'm reading, freaking amazing. We have Andrade El Idolo versus Buddy Matthews in a ladder match with Andrade El Idolo picking up the victory. This sounds like to me, if I was to watch this, my match of the week would probably be switched to this. Just the names alone in this, Andrade and Buddy Matthews. Come on, it has to be a fantastic match. The grade that is giving on this on the article I'm reading is an A, so it has to be pretty good. Next, we have Darby Allin and Minoru Suzuki versus Minoru Suzuki, with Darby Allin picking up the win. Next, we got Sweet Tooth versus Gravity. That's right, Samoa Joe versus Gravity. If you're not watching the new Twisted Metal on Peacock right now, Samoa Joe is Sweet Tooth, and he is playing a great role on there. But Samoa Joe picks up the victory. The Guns and Juice Robinson versus Vikingo, Martin, and Andretti, with the Guns and Juice picking up the victory on that. Next, we have Kira Hogan versus Mercedes Martinez, getting an appearance with Mercedes Martinez picking up the victory on this one. I do love Mercedes Martinez. I think she's an amazing competitor. And then we get the match of the week. I would imagine the match everybody in AEW has been looking forward to: FTR versus Adam Cole and MJF for the tag team championship. This was a good back and forth from what I've heard. This was a really good match, and Cole, after the series of counters to finishing moves, Harwood ended up rolling up MJF for the win. As soon as it happened, MJF looked upset with himself for losing. Cole turned his back and gave MJF a chance to turn on him, but MJF didn't do it. They hugged as MJF cried about having a friend. Who would have thought it would end this way, with FTR picking up everybody probably thought FTR would pick up the victory, but we thought that there would be a turn, and that did not happen, at least not yet. I wonder if MJF is playing the long role in this, but Cole is still vigilant of it. He's still aware of things. So I think MJF is going to try to turn on Cole at some point, but Cole is going to see it coming and, you know, and get the one up on MJF. And then they're going to have a battle for the title. All right, guys, that is your week in wrestling. I am sorry that there was not a whole lot of back and forth going on here, but that is what happens when you do this solo. It happens, guys. It happens. All right, guys, make sure you check out the last podcast you'd want. That is right, the last podcast you want. That's Steve's. That's Steve's podcast on any major podcasting outlet and on YouTube. Make sure you check out Back to the Retro Review. That is my sister channel to the Mod Squad Network, where I review movies from the 80s and 90s. That can also be found on most major podcasting platforms. Make sure you check out the Daily Dank. Make sure you check out the Daily Dank on YouTube if you like cannabis and cannabis entertainment, or just entertainment in general. It's not always cannabis. Make sure you check out the Daily Dank. Make sure you check out the other shows here on the Mod Squad Network. You're watching the wrestling show. Make sure you check out Movie Talk Mondays. We have the horror show. We have the gamer show. And we have, I think I just messaged them all. Let's see. We have wrestling, horror, Movie Talk Monday, and gamer. So yeah, there you go. Make sure you check out our lives every Saturday night, where we have a giveaway. All right, guys, make sure you do all the YouTuber things. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a good old thumb and hit that like and subscribe. If you are listening to us on most major podcasting outlets, make sure you check us out on YouTube and give us a good old thumb and hit that like and subscribe. You can see our faces as well as hear our voices. All right, guys, that does it for this episode of the Mod Squad's Layeth the Squad Down. So I am Kevin saying thank you for being a friend, everybody.